For the last 31 years, the off-road racing community from Central Australia and around the nation have made a yearly pilgrimage on the Queen's birthday weekend to compete on some of the toughest terrain on Earth. 452 kilometres there and back. The Tattersall's Finke Desert Race. Originally a bike race, the increasing popularity saw the introduction of cars in 1988, making 2007 the 20th anniversary of the car class.
Cars came along at a time when there was fear that the bike riders were getting a bit old and what was now in it for them. So, and locally there'd been a fairly energetic group of people who'd started to race off-road.
In 1984 we started off-road racing, as in car side of it, with a few fellas that were old bike riders that didn't want to get hurt anymore and wanted to do it with a bit more safety, so we started off-road racing. In 1987 we actually did a run on the Finke track to compare the times the cars were doing with the bikes at the time, and that was from Rodinga to Ingadina Ruins, and then turned around and came back, and it was within 10 minutes of the fastest bike. So it sort of gave us a leg in to be involved with the Finke race as far as the cars were concerned.
So the natural progression for our famous desert race was to include cars. So the first year I think offhand 12 or 13 turned up.
87, that was quite a bit of fun. We went down to Rodinga and set all the cars up and then set them off at a minute intervals, and then there was myself and a couple other guys, we chased them along. I mean, the road's nowhere near as rough as it is now.
In the early races we used to race back at night time. We'd leave around about 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was still dark of course.
Some cars refueled in those days, which they don't anymore. They got through to Finke and then you had to totally rebuild it to come home the next day. You had to be home before breakfast to win it, and John Fiddler and Peter Lewis of Claude end up winning the inaugural car race.
Basically the cars those days were just modified street cars, all four-wheel drives, so no real buggies as such. The cars never had the suspension. Volkswagen gearboxes basically licorice, one wrong move and the thing went bang. They were designed for 50 horsepower, not 200 horsepower.
They were the best available in this town, and that's the reality of all the machinery every year. Not many people come to the start line who are seriously to race in any one year had anything but the best available. When we look back on it, yes, they looked silly, and yes, they were under technology and so forth, but the reality was they were very, very good cars for their time.
The passing years saw constant advancements within the car class. This meant they could not only overcome the conditions of the desert, but become a fierce competitor in opposition to the bikes.
And the big joke was, the cars are going to beat the bikes one day. And all the motorbike riders going, yeah. And I had a bit of a smile on the dial the day that the cars actually did beat the bikes.
For 11 consecutive years, the bikes fiercely defended their position. But in 1999, Mark Burrows and navigator Michael Shannon claimed the title of outright winner, the King of the Desert.
We're one of the lucky ones to the first car to beat the bike years ago, so that's something that we'll never forget, and we've had quite a successful run up here.
Mark Burrows, the legend goes that in the early days he would come here and he would film the worst section of the track, go home to his property in Bumbarret, rebuild a kilometre of that and test his car to breaking point over that. That's why he'd return the next year with a car so much better built than anybody else and would go on to win it.